It's like I said, at the end of the day, it was awakening. Did we need it? No. Is it something that's going to make us stronger and be able to grow and transform? Most definitely. One of my friends, she was doing like Hurricane Katrina, and she said to me, she was like, in this chaos, she was like, these Republicans, people who are business owners, are thriving. She said they thrive in chaos. And she said the only thing that keeps us regular people from thriving is, one, the money that they give us, but two, not pivoting during the chaos. And someone asked me, what are you doing? Like, she's like, what you been doing over there? You real quiet, because I'm always real quiet on social media. I said, girl, I'm over here making fertilizer out of shit. That's what I'm over here doing. And she said, what? I said, I'm over here really looking at what is available. Even if you don't need it, how could you use it? It doesn't mean you have to come out here and get all of the things, but how can you use it? That's just like people, like, I did not do the mortgage thing. Because I don't, so listen, as an African-American woman, I don't trust banks. I live in Washington, D.C. I always feel like someone's trying to take my stuff. I didn't do that. And then I also did my research, and they talked about how, like, all of a sudden it's over. You owe all the money. Well, realistically, how you owe all the money when you had to? Right, but how are we gonna pay all the money when you couldn't pay? Like, where's money magically gonna come from?
It's a shame. So, they get so many
people. Some things you don't, some things you do. And it doesn't have to be money. Like, it could be this the teachers need help. And help is how you want to look at it. Help could be you figuring out how to support your child, asking them how to support your child, asking them how you can support them. That's something that we usually don't do. It's like those communications. It's so many different ways that we can use this space to be better. Parents are going crazy because they gotta teach their children. And the system, listen, the education system as a whole, the basics of it was already messed up. Most people don't understand the dynamics of No Child Left Behind. I read it. I remember reading it. And I was like, so literally what you're telling me is that you have, and I'm not trying to be mean when I say it, this is just basic. You have taken the measurement of the lowest functioning child, and you made that the baseline for everyone. How does that support you as a nation?
Not at all.
Not at all. And who is this for? Is this for, because it's for something. So basically those schools that are underperforming, you're going to give them this low baseline, and everyone else is going to use this baseline. So I'm not going to make you step up and switch up your curriculum. I'm not going to make you go back to phonics, because I don't talk about it on my platform, but just in case this makes the cut, phonics. Kids learn how to read, and they read forever, memorizing.
Right.
And that is why we have so many of our children who cannot read, and they do these intervention programs, and now you want to use phonics. Just teach the kids phonics, man. Just teach them phonics.
It's so funny you're saying this. When my daughter, we're talking 38 years now, my daughter had hooked on phonics when she was little.
That's how I taught my child how to read. I mean, listen, the song, I don't remember the song, but I know something after C, PH makes a sound. The little song.
They did have a little hooked on phonics song.
Remember you had the song, it makes the sound, if it's silent after C, something. So our system for education, and once again, because I'm a conspiracy, look, so listen, for everybody who don't know about Miss Jeannie Dawkins, okay, I like sci-fi, which means I'm a conspiracy theorist. I like K-dramas, and I like anime, okay?
Girl, we are kindred spirits. I swear we are. All of them.
So during this whole thing, I'm at home watching 12 Monkeys, okay?
I love 12 Monkeys.
Somebody said, why are you watching a sci-fi show about the pandemic when you're in a pandemic? I said, because I need to know what to look for in these streets. Okay? But that is like, look, and the infrastructure that we have is the dumbing down of our kids. You have the haves and you have the have-not.
Right.
So when you create this not my child behind baseline, and then you have private schools.
And they're soaring.
They are soaring.
Right.
So who is that benefiting?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, because for all my sci-fi fans, and I know you understand, when we talk about this dystopia.
Right. Hello.
Where is your child going to be if they're caught up in that lower baseline?
Right.
And you're like, oh, we're cool. No, we're not cool. Look, I work for the federal government. I used to work for the state government. And our parents grew up on this whole concept, and our grandparents on the concept that when you invest in Social Security, they're going to take care of you.
Yeah.
I have sat with elderly people who have dedicated their life for this country, cannot get food stamps, who are charging their medication on credit cards. Okay? Because of someone saying that this is how it's going to be. You have to prepare yourself, and you have to realize have nots and the people in between.
Yeah.
If you're in between, you know, my dad used to always say it's better to be far left or far right, just be right in the middle.
Yeah.
But one thing about the middle, it can always be shaky.
Yeah.
So what is it that you can put in place for you and your children, and you know, and your future?
Right.
To stay in that middle, you know, and academics, I just feel like, you know, purpose is always for my family. My mom, my grandmother's always been academics. Academics is such a base and foundation of where you can go in life. And it's not about, let's be clear. I'm not saying you have to have a college degree. I do. I have a master's. I'm going to get a PhD. That's my jam. I like learning. But my dad, at one point, was a millionaire. My dad has a high school diploma. Okay. My dad is educated. You would talk to him, you would not know that's all he had.
Right.
Education is not about a piece of paper. The piece of paper for our generation is a validation for you to get the job.
Right. I didn't graduate. My daughter's got 3 masters. I think I put too much in her because I didn't graduate. I had her. So I didn't finish college. I went to the University of Alaska. But it never stopped me just because I was going to school for communications and music. After I had her, I just went right to a radio station. I mean, I had the skills. I was only going for the degree. I didn't need the degree. I had to take care of my baby. I needed the money.
Because that's the space. I remember being in college. I remember the professor saying, I'm here to teach you how to get a job. He said, you thought you was here to learn? This is what I'm here for. And I remember being out there my first year with this piece of paper, and no one was trying to hire me. And I'm like, why? And they were like, because you don't have the experience. Right. And I'm training people who have both.
Yep.
So it's a funky space, but it's a space that, once again, education is the foundation of you being able to attain what you want. And then you have that additional piece that we have this space now of being able to be clear of our worth. We have a bunch of unconscious conversation that goes into our collective experience as African Americans.
Oh, yeah.
That we don't give voice to, but it's there until someone says it.
Yes.
When someone says, like, as a woman, not a Black woman, but as a woman, when you're an entrepreneur and you have to talk to someone, you have to ask them. Yeah. You have to pitch them. Yeah. How do you feel? Are you good at conveying your worth? As a woman, we have a conversation with that. As African American woman, we have a conversation with it. It may look different. When you step into spaces, being able to acknowledge it and then pivot is a power. But the most important thing with that is always education. Where are you learning? You can learn so many different things. Now you don't have to read a book. You can do Audible.
Right. And you never should stop learning. Like I can't tell you how much information I have, because we don't ever stop learning. The moment you stop learning is the moment you stagnate.
Exactly. You always have to just put your space of learning. Because if you don't do that, what happens is I call people sheepy. So we don't know how many times you want to watch this, but I'm telling you, get to know me, you'll be like, okay, I got you. Because I'll throw that in a conversation and people be like, what? because I'm a sociologist. My major in for
Oh, no wonder I love you. That was my
yeah,
favorite class, sociology. I'm telling you, I feel you.
When you're a sociologist, I love people. I love to study people. I'm like, why you do that? Why? But as American culture, we tend to be sheepy, which means you sheep. You want to be led. You want someone else to take ownership of any mistakes that are happening in your life. The best way to stay sheepy is what? Not to be conscious.
Right.
Not to take ownership. Now, if that works for you, beautiful. But the things that are most important to you, and I'm not saying you got to do it for everything in your life, but the thing that's most important to you in your heart, learn about it. Figure out about it. Listen to a podcast. It doesn't mean you have to read. It doesn't mean you have to take the time to go take a class. Go on a podcast. Like my podcast, we give you information. Your podcast. And just listen, because it's still information, but it's a shortcut to it.
Yes.
Because then you'll be able to say, okay, I want to do this. Sometimes my podcast is a taste, it's a resource. So you may have someone on the show talking about curriculums, what to look for. And you might really say, well, I really want to know more. You find another one. Doesn't mean that you're out here 100%, 360 degrees woke and like, oh my God. No. The thing that's near and dear to your heart that you want for yourself or your child or your family, the generational wealth, whatever it is, sit in this space, learn about it, and just soar. Like everyone has the potential to it, and do not be scared, and do not let anyone tell you that you can't. And it doesn't have to be big things. I tend to put breaks when I feel like an idea is like really big, like fixing my credit. Oh my God. And then I'm sitting at home during COVID, and I'm like, good, I got a lot of money. Why is the money right now? And I said, you know what? Let me go back and listen to Tiffany. Tiffany tells you how to fix your credit. I did a couple of things, and I'm also the type of person, I need to know why. Like, it's not enough for you to tell me. I need to understand the science behind it. So she gives you that, man. I'm gonna tell you, pre-COVID, my score was like 5 something. After COVID, it was like 670. Like, and we still in COVID. It's like
you gotta hook me up with whoever that is, because I already know what's going on with mine. I was at 6 something. I think I was at 665 or 6 something like that. And now it went down because there's a hospital that is billing me, even though I know I don't look it, but I'm almost 60, and I've got coverage. And so I'm like, why are you billing me and not billing them? Well, there was some discrepancy over my maiden name and my married name, but I'm like, but I'm still the same.
Right.
Hello, what are you doing?
That's another.
Yeah, so I gotta fix that. I'm gonna fix it on my credit.
You have to
I'm gonna fix it. Yeah, I'm gonna fix that.
But what I love about her is you think you know, but you don't know. And I remember, because we listen to people. Okay. So someone else may do it, but they're just doing it. I remember I had a friend tell me, well, if it's been on your credit, I'm sure you heard this one. If it's been on your credit for 7 years, you just write a letter and it disappears. Tiffany was like, no, it don't. She was like, if you mess up the timing and you sending something, you restart the clock.
Yes, I used to work in recovery. Don't send the letter. Don't answer the call. Don't send the payment. The moment you send a new payment, or a letter or a call, it's reopened. A lot of people don't know that.
And it's just like, what's the other one? The other one that was like, oh, that was me. I was like, when they call you on the phone.
Yes.
And they're like, are you so-and-so? And you say yes. Is this your debt? And you're like, I think so. No, it's not my debt. And if you want to send me something proving that it's my debt, please send it to me in mail.
Right. Not my debt. I can tell you there are a couple of things that are on my credit. They really aren't supposed to be there. So it's very frustrating because they will put things on there. You got to stay on your credit. You really
gotta stay on it. You gotta stay on it. You gotta build it. You gotta learn that it's like anything in life, it's flexible. I mean, So I'm 40.
Okay.
I believe. I always forget. I'm hard numbers. I'm like 20, 30, 40.
40.
In between is like, I don't know what it is. But I always tell people, even with parenting, especially with parenting, because I think about my parenting journey. And I say, okay, so when you're in your 20s, that's when you're out here effing it up. Even parenting.
Right.
Because the 20s, you realize what you don't have, and you realize what you want, and then if you have children, you're pushing them to be better than you.
Yep. So true.
In your 30s, you start to get your stuff, so you tend to be a little bit more lax. 40s more lax.
Yeah.
If you have multi-generational children, so I have like 2 stepchildren, like 25 and 19, and then I have a 13 and 9-year-old, and the 25 and 19-year-old like, what is going on right now? Like, there's no spankings, there's no punishment, there's what are you doing? And then they feel like it's their responsible to give them some.
Oh no!
I need to, but they're not. I'm like, no. I said, you know what? Because as a 30, 40-year-old, I realize it's not that deep.
Right.
Because the conversation changes because I've grown.
Right.
But you have to understand that because, and you have to understand that because you're gonna make mistakes. You can't sit in your mistakes. You also have to realize, like, one of the things I always say, like on my podcast and on my business, is that your kids are not something that's broken. Well, that's not speaking to the disability. What it's speaking to is when my daughter was diagnosed, I went around and fixed my mistake because I did not ask enough questions. And I felt like I messed up. I was running around to fix my mistake, but how it came across to her as a child was that she was broken. I was trying to fix her, but I wasn't trying to fix her. I was trying to fix my mistake. So, yeah, I'm gonna be out here in these streets, backing it up. But just know that there's always going to be moments where you just get to do better. And your kids are with you on a journey, point blank, period. They're going to be, it'll make them stronger people.
What's so funny is as you're saying these things, I'm thinking of it as the woman who's now almost 60. And I raised this kid from all of the things we talked about, with the special needs and whatnot. And after a while, we stopped taking care of them and they began taking care of us.
Yep.
It's beautiful. It really is. So, and I just feel like that's the gift of raising our children well. If we do a good job and we don't muck it up, hopefully when you're 55, 60, your kids are going to be able to have your back, So
right. Take care of you, love you.
Yeah.
No matter what. Because like we're human. I mean, we all have that moment. And no matter if you consider your parent a bad parent, good parent, everyone has this moment as someone's child where you're like, Mom and Dad, you could have done better. But the thing that stands out is what you put into them. Your heart, your love, and support is what's going to come back to you. All of the time. So I always say I'm out here perfectly imperfect parenting. I know I don't know all the things. I know I make mistakes. I don't, sometimes I still have like my moments of parental guilt, but I don't even work from that place anymore because I'm a person. It's impossible to know everything. Even when you say, I'm never gonna do that, what was done to me. You're gonna have moments where you're gonna do that. Okay. I mean, it's what it is. It's gonna sneak up on you. It's gonna sneak up on you, and then it's gonna be 10 years later, and you're gonna cringe at your own behavior. But it is the ability to embrace and pivot and have more moments with your child that outweigh that moment where you just lost your mind. I always tell people that, people will say, like my dad was, he worked all the time. And Mom will say, well, he didn't really spend that much time. And I would tell her, well, I don't know what you're talking about because we went here. Remember that time now? And as an adult, I realized it probably would have been like maybe 10 times, or the highest moments. But those are the moments I remember. As an adult, she's like, well, he didn't come to your play. I don't care. I don't care. I care he come to my play. Because when we did talk, I know he cared. Those moments that I had, those foundation moments, that's what kids remember. So if that's what you have to give. That doesn't mean we have to punish them or teach them agency. You do it. Because that's not going to take away from the love that they have for you.